Hello, this is Willie from the Ozarks. It's April the 16th, and we're ready for lesson 106 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. Let me be still and listen to the truth. Let me be still and listen to the truth. Now, before we read that lesson, let's speak a moment about yesterday's lesson. God's peace and joy are mine. God's peace and joy are mine. I pulled this out throughout the day and read it. When I had a chance, I spent a little time with my eyes closed. When I didn't, I at least brought it to my memory as often as I could throughout the day. Tried to do it every hour. God's peace and joy are mine. My brother, peace and joy I offer you, that I may have God's peace and joy as mine. Let's think of those three thoughts again. God's peace and joy are mine. Okay, God's peace and joy are mine. My brother, peace and joy I offer you. So you can say that to everybody you think of or came in contact today. My brother or sister, peace and joy I offer you. Why? That I may have God's peace and joy as mine. Remember, in God's economy, we talked about it yesterday, it's what you give away that you keep, instead of the world's economy that it appears like you lose it if you give it away. So we're learning that in miracle-mindedness, we want to give away anything that's worthwhile, because that's how we can be assured we keep it. And since we want to have peace and joy, well, then we've got to be sure to be given peace and joy. The gift that God's given us, we give, and as we give, we get to feel it. And even we're a conduit of giving God's peace and joy. And we'll get into that in our lesson today. Yesterday was getting us prepared, and tomorrow, let me be still, or today, let me be still and listen to the truth. We're going to be finding that peace and joy and living it, and not let appearances take it away, what's in our heart and what we know. And before we get into that, though, let's stay with lesson 105 just for a minute. God's peace and joy are mine. The main thing I wanted to point out in that lesson, and I hope you were able to get it, this is a really key concept, is that if you want to have peace and joy, you must be willing to give it. There was a particular phrase here, I wanted to read it again. It says, you must succeed today if you prepare your mind as we suggest. For you have let all bars to peace and joy be lifted up, and what is yours can come to you at last. So tell yourself, God's peace and joy are mine. And close your eyes a while and let his voice assure you that the words you speak are true. So what is it that he says you must succeed today if you prepare your mind as we suggest? Well, how did he suggest? Well, the paragraph before. He says, and it's the meditation that we're supposed to be having every hour. Think of he uses the word enemies. He puts it in quotes because we're not to have any enemies. But we might have people that we withdraw from, not be real happy about. And those are people that are in a sense, you could think of those people as obstacles to your peace and joy. But he's saying, no, they become the very support for your peace and joy. And he says that's why you must succeed. Because the only thing that's keeping you from feeling God's peace and joy, which is your peace and joy, is that you've been cherishing grievances towards his other children. You can think of it that way. Tell each one as he occurs, each of these people that you have a difficulty with, my brother, peace and joy I offer you, that I may have God's peace and joy as mine. So we're going to say that to them. And if we're sincere, we are preparing ourselves to recognize God's gifts to us and let our mind be free of all that would prevent success today. So see, he said, That's what's preventing success, is that we're unwilling to offer God's unlimited gift to everyone. Now, are you ready to accept the gifts of peace and joy which God has given you? Now you're ready to experience the joy and peace you have denied yourself. Now you can say, God's peace and joy are mine, for you have given what you would receive. Isn't that cool? We're giving what we want to receive. And if we're willing to give it, well, then we've got to receive it. I kind of look at it like we're opening up, we're giving this peace and joy away with our smile, with our words, with our whole life. We just want to be a good conduit of giving this peace and joy. Well, when we do, it makes there be a low pressure area, and this high pressure of God just fills it up. Can you think of it that way? Low pressure area, we're giving it away, because since we're giving it away, it creates this low pressure, and now the powerful pressure, the high pressure of God's peace and joy fills us, and we get to experience it because we're given it. All right. So that's that. But this is a key component of what we're learning here as miracle workers, is that we're going to work differently than the economy, is what I was calling it yesterday, the economy of the world. We're going to use the economy of God, the economy of heaven, and that's give what you want to receive. Since we want to receive peace and joy, we're going to give peace and joy. Okay, before we read our lesson, let's look at just a moment. We've been kind of looking here in the Bible, just a moment. A sentence I'd like to read in Hebrews 11. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place that he was to receive as an inheritance. And he went out not knowing where he was going. He went out not knowing where he was going. By faith, he went to live in the land of promise, as in a foreign land, living in tents with Isaac and Jacob, heirs with him of the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city that had foundation, whose designer and builder is God. I love that. Abraham was living he grew up with his family, was in the Ur of the Chaldeans. He went on a long journey, many, many hundreds of miles away, to the land of Canaan, where God was leading him to go, which is now Israel. And he had his sons, Isaac and Jacob. But he went to this place where he knew that God was God was leading him to a new place. Come out from among them, he said, the Ur of the Chaldeans, and follow me. And he took him to the land of promise. And what it says is that this was Abraham living by faith. He didn't know where he was going, but he knew what his heart was telling him, and he had to obey his heart. God leading him over to Canaan. And he didn't know about it. He didn't know what it was, where it was at. He didn't know what he was doing there, but he was following God. And here he becomes the grandfather of many religious people around the world, even today. Amazing. Hebrews, the Jews, the Islamic people, and the Christian people and probably others. But those three are all consider Abraham as a man of faith that followed God, and they feel like they're following in his footsteps as their grandchildren. Great, whatever. All right. So anyway, that's a life of faith. Anyway, take a look. I've got a bunch of flowers. I've got a rose and some phlox and some lavender and some petunia and some marigold. Well, I wanted to talk to you just a moment about marigolds. They are a really good companion plant in the garden. I hear they keep beetles away from melons, and they're a good companion plant for a lot of different plants. You're supposed to deadhead them. And deadhead them means you just grab the spent bloom and you just pinch it off and lay it down on the ground, like it's turned back into dirt, or you can eat them. These don't have as good a flavor, but they're not bad. But some varieties have much better flavor. Where on a petunia, you don't want to eat them. They look pretty, but they may have some medicinal quality, but you don't want to eat them because you do want to deadhead them, but just and that they call that deadheading, is breaking off the old flower blossoms. that kind of lets the plant know it's not supposed to go into seed, and it keeps making more flowers. That one I don't think's quite opened yet, getting ready to open. Be careful not to pick off the ones that haven't opened yet. Anyway, this is a petunia. I grow them because my grandpa used to grow them in the flower boxes, and they always smelled so good. He had windows open, they'd blow in off the flower boxes. I always loved the smell of petunias in the evening time. About the time sunset, have the windows open, that smell would come in. Oh, so that's kind of my link with Grandpa. Bernard Julius Hebank, BJ. Bernard Julius. Okay, are we ready to read our lesson? Lesson 106. I'm still chewing up my marigold. Let's see if I can get that chewed up so we can read. Lesson 106. If you will lay aside the ego's voice, however loudly it may seem to call, if you will not accept its petty gifts which give you nothing that you really want, if you will listen with an open mind, which has not told you what salvation is, then you will hear the mighty voice of truth, quiet in power, strong in stillness, and completely certain in its messages. 2. Listen and hear your Father speak to you through his appointed voice, which silences the thunder of the meaningless and shows the way to peace to those who cannot see. Be still today and listen to the truth. Be still today and listen to the truth. Can you do that? Can you be still today and listen to the truth? Be not deceived by voices of the dead, which tell you they have found the source of life and offer it to you for your belief. Attend them not, but listen to the truth. 3. Be not afraid today to circumvent the voices of the world. Walk lightly past their meaningless persuasion. Hear them not. Be still today and listen to the truth. Go past all things which do not speak of him who holds your happiness within his hand, held out to you in welcome and in love. Hear only him today, and do not wait to reach him longer. Hear one voice today. Hear one voice today. 4. Today the promise of God's word is kept. Hear and be silent. He would speak to you. He comes with miracles 1,000 times as happy and as wonderful as those you ever dreamt or wished for in your dreams. His miracles are true. They will not fade when dreaming ends. They end the dream instead and last forever, for they come from God to his dear Son, whose other name is you. God's dear Son, his other name is what? You. You're God's son. You're God's daughter. You're God's offspring. That's you. Prepare yourself for miracles today. Prepare yourself for miracles today. Today, allow your Father's ancient pledge to you and all your brothers to be kept. Hear him today and listen to the word which lifts the veil which lies upon the earth and wakes all those who sleep and cannot see. God calls to them through you. He needs your voice to speak to them. For who could reach God's Son except his Father calling through yourself? What do you read? He needs your voice to speak to them. For who could reach God's Son except his Father calling through yourself? Hear him today, paragraph 6. Hear him today and offer him your voice to speak to all the multitudes who wait to hear the word that he will speak today. Be ready for salvation. It is here and will today be given unto you, and you will learn your function from the one who chose it in your Father's name for you. Listen today, and you will hear a voice which will resound throughout the world through you. In other words, the world outside of you is going to be in sync with the world inside of you. And you're gonna hear this the voice that says the voice of truth, quiet in power, strong in stillness, and completely certain in its messages, because they're totally integrated with the reality. Listen today and you will hear a voice which will resound throughout the world through you. The bringer of all miracles has need that you receive them first, and thus become the joyous giver of what you received. It's like we hear this beautiful message and we just got to share it. It just bubbles up in us, and we're like become a fountain of giving the thing that we're giving away, the very thing that's filling us. We're a spring that never runs dry, is the way Jesus talked about it. Thus does salvation start, and thus it ends. When everything is yours and everything is given away. When everything is yours and everything is given away, it will remain with you forever. Wow, that's the way we keep it, is by giving it away. And the lesson has been learned. It's what we come here to learn, evidently. This lesson that we want to give peace and joy because we want it to be ours. And the only way to have it is to give it. God's economy. Today we practice giving, not the way you understand it now, but as it is. Each hour's exercises should begin with this request for your enlightenment. Okay, each hour we're going to spend 5 minutes or as much as we can it should begin with this request for your enlightenment. Okay, we're requesting enlightenment. Now that's a key. That's a powerful word, and we're requesting it. I will be still and listen to the truth is what we say when we're requesting our enlightenment. I will be still and listen to the truth. I will be still and listen to the truth. What does it mean to give and to receive? What does it mean to give and to receive? Ask and expect an answer. Your request is one whose answer has been waiting long to be received by you. It will begin the ministry for which you came, and which will free the world from thinking giving is a way to lose. We're going to show the difference, that giving is the way to gain, not by losing. And so the world becomes ready to understand and to receive. Wow. Be still and listen to the truth today. For each 5 minutes spent in listening, 1,000 minds are open to the truth, and they will hear the holy word you hear. And when the hour is past, you will again release 1,000 more who pause to ask that truth be given them along with you. Today, the holy word of God is kept through your receiving it to give away, so you can teach the world what giving means by listening and learning it of him. Today, let's read that again. Today, the holy word of God is kept through your receiving it to give away. So you can teach the world what giving means by listening and learning it of him. So we're going to listen and we're going to give it away because we'll be just so filled with it. We got to share it. Do not forget today to reinforce your choice to hear and to receive the word by this reminder given to yourself as often as possible today. Definitely want this phrase that we're going to end with to be on your card. Let me be still and listen to the truth. I am the messenger of God today. My voice is his to give what I receive. Let me be still and listen to the truth. I am the messenger of God today. My voice is his to give what I receive. One last time. Let me be still and listen to the truth.